Hi everyone. Today, let's talk about AMD. This is a company that just released earnings and they crushed it, far better than what was expected, and we'll go through and talk about that. We'll also take a quick listen to the AMD CEO talking about their recent earnings and how they've positioned themselves very well for the future markets. Of course, we'll go through the technical picture, and I will do a comparison to the Nasdaq. And of course, we'll take a look at a couple trade ideas. If you like trading stocks and options and making money, definitely like and subscribe. I make videos like this as well as whole portfolio overviews every single week, so make sure you hit the bell so you don't miss out on any future content. Welcome to the Portfolio Bulletin. Let's get started. So AMD jumped 71% in sales, despite a concern about slowing PC sales. The stock was up as much as 8% in this market, which is quite a lot considering the downtrend, due to their earnings per share going up 117%. Their revenue was up by 71%, and they said they expect $6.5 billion in sales in the next quarter, which was higher than the estimates previously put out at $6.38 billion. Basically, everything for this company is going well, and the stock rallied on improved guidance. A report said AMD has continued to take market share away from Intel, especially on the high-end chips for the server business. There is still some concern that the PC business could be shrinking due to the pandemic boom, where people were stuck at home and they all wanted new computers, new laptops, and new desktops. AMD is not feeling this, as they stay in the higher end of computers, and usually users who have higher end computers continue to buy new computers at the regular rate, as opposed to the pandemic buyers, which were just buying kind of on impulse because they knew they were going to be stuck at home. They also mentioned that they have gained market share in gaming and commercial, where they expect to continue to gain market share over any rivals. The computing and graphics card segments rose by 33% and 8%, respectively, which was driven by central processor and graphic processor sales. The enterprise and semi-custom segments grew by 88%, or $2.5 billion, which was their fastest growing sector. They said they expect the semi-custom business to grow by double digits on a year-over-year basis due to customer demand for the newest consoles. Of course, the stock has had a difficult year along with the rest of the markets, but that has not stopped this company from continuing to grow. They also mentioned the acquisition of Xilinx, which is another company that they intended to purchase several years ago, and without this acquisition, the company would have only grown by 55%, which is still very strong, but with them it grew by 71% for revenues. And of course, they expect Xilinx to continue to improve in terms of profitability and revenue. Next up, let's take a listen to CEO Lisa Su on their earnings results and hear it directly from her.
Some CEOs basically saying that PCs are dead, so therefore semis are dead, and everything else is going wrong. When I read through your report, I did not feel that way. Can you give us an update about how you could have 71% sales growth, unbelievable expectations, and the PC dead, and your company losing share?
It was a very strong start of 2022 for us. Very strong growth across all of our businesses, led by the data center business. That's where we've been strategically focused for the last couple of years, and it's great to see the progress. We doubled our data center business. Very strong, gaming results, as well as the PC business. And what I would say is, Jim, this is all about being in the right segments, and we have strategically been focused on having our product portfolio aligned with the higher end of the stack and really higher value products, and that really came through in our revenue growth as well as our margin expansion.
Clearly, the company has been doing very well, and you heard her say strategic and being in the right portions of each market. They're not trying to own the entire market, they're just sticking to the most profitable sections of each market, and that's really what she emphasized in that section, and she will emphasize that again in this interview.
You know what, I think the narrative that we were expecting from you, which was really decided by others, including one gentleman who's going around and saying that the sky is falling, particularly over AMD. But what I really loved was that I had expected that Xilinx was going to be a single-digit contributor. I was very worried that you overpaid for Xilinx. I hadn't heard a word about Xilinx. I couldn't have seen a better number. I can't recall when Xilinx was this strong, and I followed the company for 25 years. This thing's working, isn't it?
Well, I am so excited. We closed Xilinx in February, so we had half a quarter of Xilinx as part of our first quarter results. But more importantly, Jim, strategically, Xilinx is such a great fit with the AMD portfolio. What we now have is a diversified set of businesses, that really are all about high-performance computing and adaptive computing. Xilinx grew, on a pro forma basis, 22% in the first quarter. We now see them growing sort of low 20s, which is a great growth rate. And if you add that on top of, the AMD business, we're going to grow, 60% year over year into 2022. So we're excited about the combination. We're excited about what we can do in sort of the key markets that we think are going to be the secular growth drivers for us in not just 22, but really over the next 3 to 5 years.
The big takeaway here is that AMD is branching into many different sectors, and again, she mentions they're staying in the most profitable sections of each of those markets, turning AMD into a more portfolio-based provider of chips across all the major demand centers for computer chips. Next up, let's take a look at the AMD charts. You can see it's still struggling along with the rest of the broader market, been in this longer-term downward channel since the highs in November. Had a really strong drop here in the beginning of January before we popped back up into this range, extended out of this range to some short-term highs at the end of March, and since then we've faded down into their most recent lows here in April, which was just prior to their earnings announcement. And then you can see since then we've had a pretty decent little rally. Could have bought the stock somewhere around $82 or $83 per share, and since then it's rallied up to almost $100 per share and is currently sitting at $95. So definitely a nice little rally. It's hard to say whether this is going to break out or if we're going to break back down, retest, and then continue higher. So this could certainly go either way at this point. But based on the strong results of their earnings, stock has become more bullish in the short term. I also want to move to the 1 week view here, and you can see there is this very long-term support level from 2012. Then we have the 2018 highs here. Then we have the lows of 2020 in July. All of these make a very strong support level, and you can actually extend this out even more, and it would engage here in 2010, 2011, and was engaged back here in 2009 as well. So this is a very strong, very consistent long-term support and resistance level, and currently that's right where we are. We didn't quite touch it, and it is coexisting with the 144 EMA down here at around $80, but it seems like this might be capping off this lower limit for this channel. We still haven't broken back above any of the shorter-term weekly EMAs, so this is still technically a downtrend on the longer-term charts, but there is strong support just a few points lower than where we are. And with the reinforcement of strong earnings, this could potentially be a nice little turning point. Take a quick look here at the tasty charts. You can see on the daily chart, we're right in the middle of that range. There's certainly some upside potential based on these charts. If you look at the 4-hour chart, you can see this is a fairly clear middle of the range, slightly uptrending chart, with the 144 on the 4-hour sitting at $98.54, which was that previous level of resistance. But we've stayed pretty tight, and it seems like we're going to be able to push through that based on the tasty charts. Moving over to the Qs just for a minute to compare where we've been. This is that dip down that we had in April, the same one which was the lows for AMD, and currently we're sitting well below that at around 308, where even the very tip of the point here was closer to 312. And this has been a very consistent downtrend, and who knows exactly where we're going. I have some hopes at $300, which is one of those big round numbers that could potentially be a support level. If we go to the 1 week view here, you can see the 144 EMA is currently sitting at 291, just a few points below that 300 level. If that ends up being the support level, there's still some pretty significant downside potential of another 5 to 6% at least to that 144. And usually, even if the 300 is going to hold, you would expect a retest of that longer term moving average if we were to get a reversal. Either way, the main point here is AMD looks significantly stronger here on the 4-hour chart. Either way, my point here is on the short-term chart, AMD looks significantly stronger than the NASDAQ and even the broader markets. Moving over to some potential trades, let's look at the ratio spread first. This is where you sell 2 put options and buy 1 put option. Looks like there's around a $2 credit here. You could even move it up to at the money to get a couple extra cents, but around $2 for 1 strike out of the money, and this would effectively be buying the stock at $90, so around $5 cheaper than where it is right now, or if the stock rallies, you get to keep the $2. Of course, you could always go with the standard put option, which does get you a little bit more money here, $2.79, or if you went for at the money, somewhere around $3.20. And this is effectively buying the stock here at $92, a little bit below $92. As opposed to the ratio spread, you lose a little bit of money if the stock rallies, but you also protect yourself quite a bit more on the downside. AMD is pretty volatile, so sometimes a little bit more protection is important. You could always increase your time frame if you wanted to go a little further out. You could definitely look at the monies for 2 weeks. You would get a little bit more money, but generally, if you continue to collect on the weeklies, more iterations tends to mean more money. Let me know down in the comments what you think of AMD. Is this company going to continue to grow at this rapid rate, or will they fail on their guidance and start to decline? Will the rest of the markets continue to drag down AMD despite their strong performance, or will they be able to break out? Definitely like and subscribe if you got any value out of this video, and make sure you hit the bell so you don't miss out on any future content. Of course, none of this is financial advice. This is all for entertainment purposes, and have a great day.